Live from Orlando, Florida, you're now listening to the OZone Podcast, the voice of Orlando Magic fans. Join us every week for a unique fan perspective on all of the latest Magic news and updates. The show starts now.
What's up, Magic fans? Welcome back to another episode of the OZone Podcast, brought to you by DraftKings and part of the Basketball Podcast Network. We're your hosts, Al, myself, Anthony. Today is Friday, May 27th. We're exactly 4 weeks away from the NBA draft. What's up, Al?
What's going on?
What's up, man? In today's episode, we're going to talk about John Hammond and some of the updates that he gave us in his interview of the process for the draft. We're going to talk a little bit about the conflict and reports that there is out in the national media, whether or not we're going to draft Chet or Jabari and how the hell they got the information before we did. And then also talk about Franz getting into the all-rookie. But before we get into those Magic topics, we definitely want to take a moment and announce that we just launched Orlando Magic HQ Patreon. Al, please let's give our listeners a little bit of details of what that is and what that entails.
Yes, sir. So it's something that me and you have been talking about for quite a while now. We kind of been wanting to do this right, do it when it was right, and the time is now. So with the draft approaching, first things first, I want to let you guys know, whoever signs up to our Patreon will actually enter a giveaway that we're doing for a rookie jersey. So whoever we draft number one, you're going to be getting that jersey first. So again, if it is Chet, if it is Jabari, you'll be entered for that contest. We're going to be limiting that giveaway to our Patreon members. So again, if it's only, 10, 15, 20 people that join, then your chances are much, much higher. In the past, when we've done that, we've done it to all of our HQ followers and listeners. So again, a really good chance here to get yourself a rookie jersey. When it comes to the memberships, we decided to do two, and we want to make sure that you feel like you're part of our headquarters, Magic HQ. So the basic level, we call it the management level. That is $5 per month. What that entails is you would be automatically entered to any future Magic HQ giveaways that we do. That could be tickets, jerseys, collectibles, anything that we do. You also will have access to our exclusive Orlando Magic HQ group chat. Your name is going to be featured on our Instagram page, especially on the highlight that we'll be creating for our Patreon supporters. And you're going to be followed by us on all of our social media platforms, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, whatever it may be. So you can contact us whenever you want to. So that is the management level access. The executive level access, that would be our premier level, sir. That would entail everything that is on the management level access. Plus, you'll be a guest on our podcast for a particular segment that we'll be doing going forward with one of you guys, featuring one of our Patreon supporters. So you can be on the podcast, you can be on the YouTube show. If you are a writer and you want to write articles about the Magic, you'll be able to enter and write to us one article per month, which will be featured on our website, orlandomagichq.com. We'll be sharing that on Twitter, Instagram, and all of our platforms. So a great way to get your name out there and share your thoughts about the Magic. You'll also be a part of our monthly virtual roundtable discussion with us. And that will be a once per month session, whether it's Zoom, we're still debating where it's going to be. But it'll be basically a 30-minute to an hour conversation with us about the Magic, what's going on, and just get to know one another as Magic fans and talk about the team. Finally, you'll get immediate notification first than anyone else when our new YouTube episodes drop each and every week. So that would be our executive level access. To sign up, all you have to do is go to patreon.com/Orlando Magic HQ. We're also going to be linking putting the link on the show description here on YouTube and also on our podcast.
Yeah, man. So really exciting stuff. It's a way for us to be able to do a little bit more, and to really interact with our listeners a little bit more as well. So really, really exciting stuff. And you can get there. We'll have the link on our Instagram page as well as on the YouTube. But you can go on patreon.com/Orlando Magic HQ. All right. And then who doesn't want a brand new jersey, man? The Jabari, Chet, Paolo,
especially
Sharp,
with all the excitement that's going on with the Magic, it's a great time to get yourself that jersey as soon as it comes out.
Absolutely. All right, let's get into the nitty gritty. So when it comes to before we get into the draft talk, because I feel like when it comes to the draft, once we touch on it, it's kind of hard to change subject. So we'll get to that in a moment. First and foremost, man, Franz Wagner winning all rookie first team honors. Um, well deserved. Well deserved. We can't deny that. We expected it. I think that if we didn't see that, the whole entire, Orange County and Osceola County, everyone in Central Orlando and Magic fans across the board, we would all collectively peacefully riot, because there's no way that Franz didn't deserve it, right? At the same time, I posted earlier that there were some people in the national media that didn't agree. They didn't believe that Franz Wagner should have been in there. Kendrick Perkins, Jalen Rose, Mike Greenberg, Shams, which I'm a little disappointed in Shams, because Shams, I thought you knew better, but they all thought that Giddey should have been in there over Franz. But nonetheless, how excited are you to be able to see that, Orlando Magic, we at least got some type of recognition. And Franz, who, played over 72 games, averaging more than 15 points a game, he was highlighted.
I mean, first of all, well deserved, right? As a Magic fan, it's funny because I didn't personally believe it was going to happen until I finally saw it posted that night. I think it was last week on Wednesday, they announced it. Just because, again, there are going to be a lot of media members that don't watch the Magic enough, that just won't know who he is or won't know about his game enough to nominate him. And we saw some big names that you would assume that at least would know about Franz by now. And even those guys did not vote him in. But if you're a Magic fan, you've been watching him all season long. This guy played 79 games, 15.2 points per game, 4.5 rebounds, 2.9 assists. Most importantly, shooting almost 47% from the field, 35% from three-point range. That is an amazing, amazing regular season. Well-deserved. Again, if he was not named in the first rookie team, that would have been just complete chaos in Orlando, because, again, this kid deserves it. And, again, happy for him. Many of us were surprised when we heard his name be called a number 8 last year. But, hey, we're definitely thankful now that we called him.
Absolutely. So definitely shout out to Franz Boogie. Really happy that he got his name recognized, because he definitely deserved it. All right, let's talk about Mo Bamba. So is Mo Bamba done in Orlando? We've had these conversations, I feel like, for the last 3-4 years, right? But recently, I'm not sure if anyone saw, but Mo Bamba was he sent an IG live message to Donovan Mitchell and telling him to come home and referencing the New York Knicks, which obviously we know he was joking, not that big of a deal. He's from Harlem, if I'm not mistaken. So, come home. He's from New York, so he's just telling him to go play for New York, his hometown. Coincidentally, that same day, Jake Fisher reports from Bleacher Report that it is likely that Mo Bamba will leave Orlando in free agency. Now, we've talked about the fact that, maybe there just may not be enough room for Mo Bamba with, if we decide to draft a player like Chet Holmgren, that it might be time for Mo Bamba to move on. Mo Bamba is a restricted free agent, so he's going to go out there. He's going to go talk to other teams, and he's going to see what the market is looking like for him. And if someone offers him a decent contract, the Magic will then have to decide whether we'll match or we let him go. So what are your thoughts on that? Is it time for Mo Bamba to go? Do you think anything of the fact that he is kind of recruiting other players, jokingly or not jokingly, to go to another team? What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, the moment that we won a top 3 pick this year, we had kind of talked about this before. It became kind of more of a serious thought of, hey, Mo Bamba may not be here for long. Just because, again, it's a big guy. The top 3 picks more than likely will be a big guy. We got J.I., we got Chuma, we got Franz, Wendell. There's only so many you need in a team. Let me ask you very quickly. Would you be okay if the Magic said, hey, we're going to give Mo Bamba $10 million a year for 3 years to stay in Orlando? What would be your reaction if that was announced on June 30th?
I mean,
would you be okay with that?
I would be okay with it. The Magic have money to spend. That money has to go somewhere. I wouldn't be upset at it at all.
So that's my thinking too. Like, I get it. I get the dynamics of the roster right now. But if you told me, hey, Wendell is your starter at the center position, and you got Mo Bamba backing him up for the next 3 years, making $10 million, which, again, it's not a lot of money for a solid backup center, I'm okay with that. I mean, when you consider that Robin Lopez made this year $5 million, so you're kind of doubling that to get a guy that's going to play every night, hopefully stay healthy, and has a ton of potential. So if the contract makes sense, I truly hope Mo Bamba stays in Orlando. I think there's a lot to his game that has not been developed yet, and Coach Mosley did a great job getting more out of Mo Bamba in just one season. I want to see what this translates to in 2 to 3 years. But then again, we're going to be realistic. If a team like Detroit throws at him, $80 million, $50 million, hey, it was a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I
Get
find
a
it
second round
I find
pick,
it
get us
hard.
something.
I find it hard to believe that a team will offer that much. I really do. I mean, maybe a team could try because you can easily look at the Mobamba situation and say, all right, this is a kid that definitely has a lot of potential, and maybe he just needs a different environment. He was under Nicola for a really long time, and then had to battle it out with Wendell, and you can look at the situation and look at excuses. You can give yourself excuses
Hmm.
to maybe convince yourself to be able to pay that amount of money. Um, we offered Wendell a 4-year, $50 million contract. So we did that very early in the season, and we thought to ourselves, all right, Mo, this is your chance to go out there. You show us what you can do and show some improvements, and then maybe this is the same contract that we give you. And in his defense, I believe he did that. This is by far his best season that he's had. He stayed healthy. He played well, started for us. Played some really really solid minutes. At the same time, I don't know. I don't know what's out there. I know that Dallas desperately needs a big man. And who knows if maybe they look at somebody like Mo, where they've showed interest in Mo Bamba previously in the past. Who knows? I'm curious to see. Like, that's one thing that I have my eyes on. The minute that free agency hits, like, I'm curious to see where that kind of falls. Like, what team would offer him what exactly?
Yeah, and it's funny you mentioned Dallas because that name comes to mind as more of a sign and trade partner because I don't think they have any cap space this summer. But hey, if they wanted to sign and trade, if we can sign and trade him to Dallas for some sort of return, that may work out for us. And like you said, he went to college in Texas. Dallas has needed a rim protector, as you can see now against Golden State in the playoffs. They desperately need somebody to just block shots. The fact that he can hit threes with Luka would be amazing for him and the team. But again, I truly believe there's a situation in which he can come back. The question is he okay being a backup? Similar to Cole Anthony, is he okay, being a six man this season coming up if that's what the team needs him to do? If he's okay with that, and again, his agent understands the situation, he's been hurt a lot, or if he signs the qualifying offer, which would mean that he comes back one more year, and then next season he will be unrestricted free agent, even that may be okay. You give him another shot, and then if he deserves it, you pay him next summer. So we'll see. I still don't think Mo Bamba is done in Orlando. Again, most of the big guys that we will be drafting, whether it's Chet, Paulo, or Jabari, truly are all really fours in the NBA. Even Chet, he's more of a four. So you would need a backup. Now the question is, you got a Mo Wagner in the team too that played really well last season. You love the energy that he brings every night. Do you want to give him a shot to be the backup instead of Mo Bamba? So it's things like that that you got to make decisions on. But if you ask me today, May 27th, I'll be perfectly fine bringing back Mo Bamba to a decent contract, understanding that he'll be a backup. If he can agree to that, then hey, again, get a second round pick for him, whatever it may be, and just move forward. It didn't work out.
Yeah, man. Because if you decide not to bring back Mo Bamba, like, that's, you still got to spend the money. Like, we still have to go out there, and we need to bring in guys. So let me ask you: does the Magic winning the lottery, knowing what you know now, do you believe that impacts their plan on how they would use the money in free agency?
I think it does. I actually asked Phil at our at the Magic party last week for the lottery party that the six men showed through. We talked about it right after we found out we got the first pick. I'm like, hey, do you think this changes things? And I really believe that it will, simply because now you have a positive vibe against it around the team, right? Now you have all those young guys that we already drafted are developing, but now you're bringing the first pick in the draft, and now you have all this cap space to use. I can truly see a guy like Gary Harris, perhaps, instead of thinking, why come back, maybe coming back now and saying, hey, let's sign another vet that can help us win right away. But then again, that may be bad for Bamba then, because they may want to have enough cap space to go after other vets that can help the team win and not throw it at Bamba. So to answer the question, yes, I think it definitely does. There's a positive vibe in Orlando, more media attention. You can see something building up in the city now of Orlando, whereas a year ago, that wasn't the case. So because of that, I could definitely see some guys around the NBA saying, I'm intrigued by what's going on in Orlando. If they pay me, I can go there.
Yeah, and we took a look at the free agency list, and we talked about this before. You have players like Zach LaVine, that's a unrestricted free agent. You got players like DeAndre Ayton, who's a restricted free agent. You have players like Brunson. Like there's still really good names on this list. The question is, one, do those players even want to come here? Because whether we have the number one pick or not, we're still a rebuilding team. And two, there's still going to be a major focus on the players that we have, the young players. So, it's gonna be difficult, because even like the Robin Lopez situation, he came in knowing that we're putting a focus over here on this side with the young guys.
Mm-hmm.
And he came in, he accepted it, he embraced the role. And I think that that's going to be the most important aspect of when it does come to free agency and spending money. Like, yeah, you're going to want to be able to have some vets in there that are going to help this team grow. And obviously they need to get their run also. But they also have to understand that, the focus is going to be on developing the young guys.
Exactly. So you would need to bring in guys that are willing to come off the bench, are willing to kind of not play every night, kind of like what happened with Terrence Ross and Gary Harris towards the end of the season, unless the Magic say, hey, we want more than just maybe make the play-in. We want to get some guys that are going to get some quality minutes and help us actually win next season. So again, it all comes back to what we've been saying all along, that they have to make that decision first. Are we still rebuilding, or are we turning the page a little bit and kind of saying, hey, we want to compete a little more next season. We want to be a bit more aggressive with that cap space that we have now.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, let's talk about the draft. I'm glad we got all that stuff out of the way. We're here to talk about the draft.
Let's
do it. A lot of exciting things. All right. So we expected for this to happen, right? We expected that now, the Orlando Magic number one pick, we're going to be talked about a lot more. And my God, has that happened? I feel like it's impossible. If you got an NBA radio show, wherever, it's impossible not to talk about the Magic in some capacity. All right. With that being said, there's conflicting reports on who the national media believe the Orlando Magic have already decided. Keep in mind, we haven't brought these guys in to work out yet. It's my understanding that we had conversations with them at the draft combine, but we're not at that step yet. But the Athletic has already reported that, one, the Magic are leaning towards selecting Chet Holmgren in this NBA draft. All right. And then not too much time after, ESPN then reports that according to Jonathan Givney of ESPN, most NBAs firmly believe that Jabari Smith Jr. is assured to be the top pick. And it appears that Smith is thrilled with his destination as going number one, going to Orlando, and Chet as well, and going to OKC. So what are your initial reaction to these conflicting reports that we're getting? Is it this guy? Is it that guy?
I mean, I tweeted this the other day, and I simply said it. It's 100% how I feel. Nobody has a clue. You can tell me whatever you want about who we're going to pick and who it may be. Unless it comes out of Jeff and John's mouth, or they say it to Kobe Price and he makes it official on Orlando Sentinel, I'm not going to believe it. Simply because our front office, we already know this, does not leak anything. Unfortunately for us Magic fans, this is not a year where we have a Zion in the draft, Anthony Davis, a clear number one that we can say, hey, forget about those other 2-3 guys in the draft. We know who we're getting because it's the best player. This is not that year. Unfortunately, right now, if you ask me, I really believe it's going to come down to the top 3. But don't forget maybe top 4. If you want to maybe add in there Jaden Ivey as a guy that will get a close look. Even though we have a ton of guards, his potential is pretty high. Do they want to at least get a look at him? But nobody knows. So this is a prime example. You got the Athletic saying one thing. You have ESPN, a reputable name, a respected name in ESPN, saying that it's going to be Jabari Smith. The day after the lottery, we had reports from, I think it was NBC Sports, saying it was going to be Jabari. Then we had a different website saying it was going to be Chet. So the only thing I can get out of all this is Paulo's name is not being mentioned. It really is Chet or Jabari. That's all I'm really getting out of all this. But then again, knowing the Magic, watch it be Paulo that gets drafted by the Magic. So it's going to be a wild month. We're going to hear a lot of crazy things, a lot of rumors, a lot of expectations. Don't forget, there might be a lot of rumors coming up about the Magic trading the pick also at some point. So be ready for all that. All I can say to Magic fans is relax. It's a long 4 weeks. We understand that, 28 days to be exact. Just go with the mindset of we're going to find out 7:30 p.m. on Thursday, June 23rd, who we're picking at Amway Center, if you're able to make it to the arena. Otherwise, it's all rumors for now.
Yeah, in an interview with that John Hammond had with Brandon Kravitz on In the Zone, one of the questions that he asked was, if you needed to make a decision right now, could you make it? And John Hammond said yes. With that being said, they haven't made a decision. They may have a favorite. Like I'm sure they've been working on this for a long time on their draft order of where they're ranking these players. I'm sure that they have an idea, but there's not a consensus. So you can throw all that out of the window because nobody knows yet. The Magic organization, they're not passing that information along to nobody. I'm sure that they're doing their due diligence. They have to do their due diligence to be able to make this, make the right decision. You know, it's a gift and a curse because you have all the power in your hands, but you can't mess it up. And even John Hammond, we're going to talk about the interview that he had recently at the draft combine. But in that interview, he also mentioned that, you know, other execs were telling him, congratulations, but don't mess it up. And that's really what this is. You can't mess this up. And again, even no matter what these reports are saying, right now, today, if your mind is stuck on Jabari, I'm telling you, it is so easy to change your mind on another player. Right now, if I was to draft a player right now, this very moment, I'm going with Jabari. I've convinced myself enough to where that's it. I'm not changing it. Right. But, you know, from the lottery, you're right. Paulo is a name that's just completely out of the question, disregarded completely. You know, it's between Jabari and Chet. And it's interesting because you see these names are reporting this information. You trust them. Like it's The Athletic, it's ESPN, it's Jonathan Givney. Like you trust this information, but you also know that there's no chance. But now it leads me to believe also, what if that's what people expect from the Magic front office, that they don't leak any information? Because when it comes to leaking information, you do that for a multitude of reasons. But people leak that information to benefit them and their strategy. It's a strategy game, whether it's from the agents, whether it's from the players, whether it's from the team. So, yeah, we can sit here and say that, you know, the Magic won't leak any information, but maybe they do. And I say that to say, okay, maybe they don't want anything to do with Chet, but they know that OKC really, really wants Chet. So what if they leak the information that, you know, if it was our decision right now, we're going to select Chet. But if OKC really wants him, then they're going to have to talk to Orlando to trade and do a swap. You can use that as a strategy to try. And that might be a little too meddling and playing with fire a little bit, but it's just to understand that, you know, when these news come out, it's to benefit somebody. It doesn't come out for no reason. People aren't just gossiping. This is business. This is money. And it's to you really have to ask yourself, who does it benefit exactly?
Yeah. And I mean, don't forget about the agents too, right? The agents want Jabari to go 1.
Yep.
Chet's agents want Chet to go number 1. So they're also leaking information and saying, hey, the Magic called us yesterday and they're already setting up interviews with us. That means they want us. But as we all know, all these guys are going to come through Orlando. You're going to hear or read possibly 15, 20, 30, 50 guys' names coming to Orlando over the next 3 weeks to do workouts. That doesn't mean anything at the end of the day. Now, the ones that are coming back for second or third visits, pay attention to that because that means now they want to show them the new practice facility that should be ready in June. They want now more than just one interview. And if you've ever been to a job interview, the deeper you go in the interview process, that means you're the more serious candidate. So I think that's when we find out more. But we are weeks away from that. But to your point, who knows? They could be playing cards here. They could be saying, hey, we want Chet. Hey, the next day, we want Jabari. And that's playing games with Houston, with OKC. Because if they want those guys really, really bad, hey, trade up. We'll give us a pick, give us 2 picks, and move up. Maybe they don't want Chet. Maybe they're okay with getting Jabari at 2 or Paulo at 3. Maybe they don't care who they get. So it's going to be, again, interesting. It's a chess match right now. Nobody knows anything. And again, my mindset really is I'm going to find out at MOE Center with you on the draft party. That's just my mindset. I don't think we're going to get anything specific and 100% before then.
Yeah, and again, maybe it's the same old Magic front office where they're not leaking any information. But what they are doing is giving like code-based interviews where you're kind of like, based on what they're saying, you got to be talking about this guy. So
Yep.
John Hammond at the draft combine, he was interviewed, and he's quoted saying this: "When it comes to the draft, who do we think can be the best player? Maybe not so much initially. You love to have the rookie of the year. That'd be great. But most importantly, who's going to be the best player in 2, 3, 5, 7 years from now? That's what you're looking at, because these guys are coming in so young. You want a guy you can build with. We might have the number 1 pick in the draft and still may have to have some patience with this guy." Now, when I say that, who do you believe out of the top 3 do you believe he's talking about?
I mean, there's only one guy in my mind that needs more than a year out of the top 3, right?
The guy that's the most project.
Yeah, because I think if you think of Chet, you know that the body is the issue. The skill's not an issue. The motor, the energy level is not an issue. You know he's going to play at the NBA and be competitive and fight. And again, he did it in college. Bang against the bigger guys. He's fine with that. But we know he's not going to be right away, the best player. I feel this way next year. I think Jabari or Paulo may be better next year because they're more built for the NBA. So when I'm reading that little paragraph you read right now, one name comes to mind. That's Chet's name. Because I think Jabari can play in the NBA next season. He's strong enough. He's built to be a small forward, power forward in today's NBA. Paulo, my goodness, he is what, 250, 6'10"? He can play in the NBA today. So the only name that comes to mind based on what he's saying in that particular paragraph is Chet. How about you?
I hate the fact that he even said 7 years. Like, why are we even don't play around like that.
2030.
Yeah, stop that. Let's not do that at all. Yeah, I mean, it sounds like Chet. I mean, I saw that a couple people were like, well, it could be Jabari because, he needs some help with his dribbling. Like, no, it screams and yells Chet. But again, it could be strategy. It could be a multitude of things. I don't know. I can't read these guys. And that's the part that's frustrating for us, for everybody. But the fact that, this at least gives us some type of direction. Because at the end of the day, if it is Chet and that's who they decided, I'll be happy. But I really hope that we end up landing on Jabari. Like, really, really hope.
I'm glad. Welcome to the team. I've been saying this for now 3-4 months. I haven't wavered. It reminds me of last year with me and wanting Jalen Green so badly. Like, I never wavered. Like, that was my guy. Even at 1, I was willing to say, you know what?
Wait. I'm not wavering. If I were to pick right now, like if it was me, I'm picking Paolo. I'm still picking Paolo. Like, the only reason why I'm saying Jabari is because I know Paolo isn't a realistic option. But I would still pick Paolo easy.
So you're still team Paulo then. That's your guy right now. If
100%.
the Magic were to draft him, you'll be thrilled.
How we were jumping up and down for the lottery when we won the number 1 pick, that's how I would be.
And listen, I tweeted it today. I forgot who I was talking to. I think it was Steven from the Close Up Magic. And I said the same thing. I'm like, listen, he did an episode this week that he dropped, and his guest was really low on Jabari Smith, basically saying that he's the 3rd best prospect in the draft. He wouldn't touch him. He would go with Chet first, Paulo second. I don't, again, my response was simple. I don't agree with his comments. I think that to me today, the best prospect for the Magic, the most ready today to play in today's NBA game is Jabari. That's just been my thought for the last 3 months. But the thing is this, if we draft any of those 3 guys, I'm okay with that. Again, I won't have a problem. Unless you're drafting some guy that I've never heard of, I'll be pissed. But if on June 23rd, the Magic draft any of the top 3 guys, I'm going to 100% understand why they did it, agree with it, and move on. And look forward to Summer League right the next day. So I'm with you. I'm torn 100%. I just keep saying Jabari Smith is my guy because he's the one guy that can play multiple positions. He can guard anyone on the court. He can shoot the ball so well. This whole thing about dribbling, like, what the heck? Like, you're not expecting him to be Kobe Bryant or be Stephen Curry. Like, this guy's going to be a 3-and-D solid player. He is going to eventually have to get better. Look at last year's Jalen Suggs. He could not get to the basketball or losing the ball the first 2 months of the season. By the time the season ended, Jalen, he was getting to the basket at will. Now, he wasn't finishing. That was the problem at that point. But my point is, these guys are going to work with the team and get better over the next 6 months, years, 2 years, and so forth. Every player has weaknesses. So to say that that's his biggest weakness, the whole fact that he can't dribble and this and that, he also played with two of the worst guards in college basketball. He was forced to create more than maybe he was comfortable with. Like, there's so many things that you can go into in that conversation. But to your point, any of the top three guys, if it's announced by the Magic, I'm going to be 100% okay with that.
It's so crazy how we're all so spoiled with, today's NBA, because we're looking at 20 years ago and your 6'10" forward can't dribble. It's not a big deal. Like, it's not an issue. You don't expect them to dribble. Today's NBA it's a massive red flag. Like, this is such a major con. So it's crazy to see the difference of the dynamics of today's NBA, because back then, if Jabari was to be in the draft 20 years ago, people would think that this dude is an alien, like everything that he's able to do.
Yeah, I mean, the same way that Rashard Lewis was like the first real like three what was the position called? Like, you could play four guys out because of Rashard Lewis.
Yeah, stretch four.
There you go. So, like, that was unheard of years ago. Now it's the norm. It's how you draft those guys. But I'm going to ask you quickly. I'm going to say a name and give me the first weakness that comes to mind for that player that you'll be like, oh, I wouldn't draft him because of that. So, Chet.
It's the weight issue.
Okay. Paulo.
Paulo is shooting would be his.
And Jabari, I think I know where you're going. So
creating
Jabari.
His own shot, dribbling.
So, like, for me, the biggest thing.
No one's gonna be a perfect prospect. You're gonna find an issue with every single one.
Yeah, like with me and Paulo, the biggest thing is the motor. Like, yes, he's a beast offensively, but defensively he takes possessions off, and then you have the issue with him also that the motor. He's not consistent with the energy, and we saw that in Bamba. All the skills in the world, tall, lengthy, he can shoot the three ball, but you don't get that every single night. So it's scary to draft a guy that has that issue, number one. And like I said, Chet, the body, will he have a fill, the injury concerns. So everyone has those issues. That's why, again, you got to be really, really sure who you like beyond just basketball. It's going to be a fit in the locker room, not only now, but also in the future. Yeah. It's so many things.
But I think that's what makes this all fun, because they're the three of them, they're so different, different. So it really comes down to what it is that you want to add to your team. If you need a rim protector, you can get Chet. If you need, someone that has on-ball defense, you're going to go with Jabari. Paulo, in my opinion, he's your most, I would say most polished out of the three that's able to go in there now. He's going to be the most likely to play like a vet than the other two. So it's really depending on what it is that you want to do now. The Magic, in my opinion, it's not like they're all in, have to win right now. We have goals that we want to hit and we want to get better and go after the play-in. But, if it's like, for example, let's say that is Golden State with the number one pick, right? In my opinion, Golden State would go after Paulo. Just because he's able to impact the game a lot sooner than, what Kuminga's doing and Moses Moody. And, they're not doing too much. So it all comes down to needs. Fit is important, but you have to go best player available. Best player available is really based on perception.
True.
That's what makes it difficult. Best player available is just how you view the game. How I view the game will be different how you view the game. You view the game as Jabari, I view the game as Paulo.
Yeah. And there's a lot of people out there that see it as Chet. So, that's why it's going to be an interesting draft. But what's even fun, like even more fun to think about, OKC will be thrilled, whoever they get with draft at number 2. Houston will be thrilled who they get number 3. So that's kind of the cool thing about this year.
Houston is probably in the best position out of the 3 because they can't mess up. They can't mess up. They're going to draft whoever lands to them. And, because there's such a gap between 3 and 4. and I'm not saying they're in the best position. They're in the best position not to mess up. They have the least amount of risk to not mess up.
Let me ask you this. So Jaden Ivey is kind of coming back in some podcasts that I've listened to as a name that could go up to the top 3. Do you think that's real, or you think Ivey will be 4 and lower in this draft?
No, I think he's 4 and lower.
Okay.
I think so. Interviews are important. The workouts are important because it's a little more intimate. You can kind of get to know what goes on inside the player's mind. They're doing their reference checks, and they're calling former coaches and university. They're trying to get as much data on these guys as possible. But I mean, out of the 3, Paolo had the most success in March Madness in the tourney. So it's I just see the gap, but I still think that they're in a good position. What's interesting is that today I heard that there's a rumor going on, and it hasn't hit none of the major outlets. This is coming directly from the Kings insider, but they're saying that they've already had negotiations, and they're all but confirmed to take number 2 away from OKC, which I thought was kind of weird because why would OKC want to move it? I wonder what's in it for them. So I don't know, man. It's going to be a lot of chaos. That's the best way to describe it. It's going to be a lot of chaos.
Which people like me and you creating content and doing podcasts, we love
perfect.
chaos. So keep it going.
as long as it's good chaos, because we don't need none of that bad juju. All right, man. On that note, man, it's a wrap, man. We're 4 weeks, bro. 1 month. It's gonna go by so fast. I would imagine that the rumor wheel is gonna keep going, and we're gonna start getting more and more things coming out to light. I'm really looking forward to being able to see Jabari and Chet and even Paolo to come to Orlando and throw some magic gear at them, so that we can cry later. And all those pictures that we've seen of Trae Young wearing Orlando Magic uniforms here in Orlando. Yeah, crazy. All right, man. On that note, it's a wrap. Make sure that you definitely take a moment, check out the Patreon, and make sure that you're in there because gotta get that jersey and a lot of cool stuff that you're able to do there. But on that note, it's a wrap. Catch you guys next week.
Thank you for listening to the OZone Podcast, the voice of Magic fans. For all the latest Orlando Magic news and updates, follow us on Twitter at the OZone Pod and on Instagram at Orlando Magic HQ. Remember to subscribe and leave a 5-star review on all your favorite podcast listening platforms.